Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky now is suggesting he's no longer pressing for quick accession to the NATO defensive alliance. Zelensky argues that he doesn't want to be the leader of a country that's on its knees begging for membership of NATO. NATO allies have been providing Kyiv with weapons and financial support, but they won't intervene militarily because Ukraine is not a member of the alliance. Rosie Bachard has more from Brussels.
Ukrainian President Zelensky has long insisted that his country deserves to be part of the NATO defensive alliance, that it's essentially serving as a buffer between Russia and NATO countries. But he now appears to have dampened those ambitions. In an interview with the US broadcaster ABC News, Zelensky said that his drive for NATO membership has, quote, cooled off. And Zelensky's also recently said the alliance's refusal to initiate a no-fly zone over Ukraine meant NATO allies were responsible for the deaths of Ukrainians. Now, some are interpreting all of this as an olive branch to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Moscow wants Kyiv barred from ever joining NATO and says its so-called special operation is about demilitarizing Ukraine. Now, another likely source of disappointment for Ukraine is the US rejection of a surprise offer from Poland to provide Kyiv with fighter jets through a US military airbase in Germany. Washington says that plan is just untenable, essentially because it could be interpreted as the US getting directly involved in the conflict, which could in turn lead to an even bigger war with NATO allies and Russia facing each other down. Still, there were messages of support for President Zelensky from Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas as she addressed European Union lawmakers on Wednesday.
It's not only in our interest to give Ukraine a membership perspective, it is also our moral duty to do so. Ukraine is not fighting for Ukraine, it's also fighting for Europe.
Now, while joining that bloc generally takes years and is riddled with complex processes, such displays of support for Ukraine from European Union leaders will likely be welcome news in Kyiv. Rosie Burchard, SABC News, Brussels.